Have you ever looked up from a game and realized 3 hours have passed? 3 hours. Gone. Like they never existed. You sat down after dinner. You placed a few walls, tended your crops, explored a hillside. Nothing dramatic, nothing urgent, just playing. And somehow the clock jumped from 8 to 11 without asking permission. We call it losing track of time. But maybe that's the wrong way to put it. Maybe we didn't lose anything. Maybe for those 3 hours we found a different kind of time altogether. One that doesn't rush. One that doesn't pressure. One that simply flows. The ancient Greeks had 2 words for time: chronos and kairos. Chronos is the time we all know. Clock time, calendar time, the meeting at 3, the deadline on Friday, the alarm at 6:30. Chronos is relentless. It moves forward whether you're ready or not. It doesn't care how you feel. Then there's kairos. And kairos is something else entirely. Kairos is the right moment, the meaningful moment. The moment when you're so absorbed in what you're doing that the clock becomes irrelevant. It's the conversation that could have lasted 10 minutes or 2 hours. You genuinely can't tell. It's the sunset you watched without checking your phone. Kairos is time measured not in seconds, but in depth. And here's what's interesting. Games, especially slow, unhurried games, are one of the few places in modern life where most of us regularly experience kairos. When you're placing that last row of fence posts as the in-game sun dips below the horizon, you're not in clock time. You're somewhere else, somewhere deeper, and your brain knows the difference, even if you don't have a Greek word for it. Every game has its own relationship with time, and it's never the same as yours. A full day in a game might last 20 minutes. A season might pass in an hour. Your crops grow from seed to harvest while you eat a sandwich in real life. And yet it doesn't feel absurd. It feels natural. Because the game has taught you its rhythm, and you've accepted it without question. Think about what that means. You've agreed to live by a completely different clock. A clock where a year takes an afternoon, where sunrise comes every 15 minutes, where winter arrives, lingers, and melts into spring before your coffee gets cold. And somehow, this compressed time feels more meaningful than the 8 hours you spent at work today. Why? Because game time is intentional time. Every minute in a game, you're doing something you chose to do, not something you were told to do, not something you have to do, something you want to do. And that changes everything about how your brain experiences duration. Time flies not because it's wasted, but because it's full of decisions, full of small actions, full of purpose. Even if that purpose is just making sure your virtual chickens are fed before nightfall. There's something about watching seasons change in a game that hits differently than it should. Spring arrives, the trees turn green, the fields soften. Everything feels possible. You plan, you plant, you expand. Summer comes, long days, warm light. The village hums with activity. This is when everything grows. Your crops, your settlement, your ambitions. Then autumn, the colors shift. Golden, amber. A quiet warning that change is coming. You harvest, you store, you prepare. There's a bittersweet beauty to it. Abundance and ending, mixed together. And finally winter. The world goes quiet. Snow covers the paths you walked 100 times. The villagers stay close to their fires. Growth stops, movement slows, and in that stillness, something unexpected happens. You rest, not because the game forces you to, but because the season gives you permission. Winter in a game says, "You've done enough. Be still for a while." And in a life where we rarely give ourselves that permission, there's something healing about a digital winter that does it for us. But the seasons aren't just beautiful, they're teaching us something we've been ignoring for years. When was the last time you waited for something, truly waited, without filling the gap, without checking your phone, without scrolling, without switching to another tab, just waiting, watching something unfold at its own pace? We've lost that, almost completely. Modern life has optimized waiting out of existence. Same-day delivery, instant streaming, notifications the second something happens. We've built a world where patience isn't just unnecessary, it's almost impossible. And then you sit down in a game. You plant a seed, and the game says, "Now wait." Not long, and maybe a few game days. But you can't speed it up. You can't skip ahead. You just have to let it grow. And during that wait, something remarkable happens. You do other things. You build. You explore. You tend to other parts of your world. But in the back of your mind, you're aware of that seed. You're anticipating. You're looking forward to something without demanding it happen right now. That's patience. Real patience. Not the frustrated kind where you're stuck in traffic. The good kind. The kind where the waiting itself is part of the pleasure. Games remind us what that feels like. They put us back in touch with a rhythm we've forgotten. The rhythm of planting and harvesting, of effort and reward separated by time. And that rhythm, it used to be the rhythm of all human life, before we optimized it away. In real life, most days blur together. Monday feels like Wednesday, feels like Friday. You look back on a month and struggle to remember what made each day different. But in a game, every day has weight. Day 1, you arrived. You had nothing. You found a clearing and placed your first structure. Day 14, the farm is running. The village has walls. A trader arrived for the first time. Day 30, you climbed the hill east of your settlement and looked down at everything you built. And for a moment, you couldn't believe you started with nothing. Game days are heavy with meaning because every one of them contains visible progress. You can see the difference between yesterday and today. You can measure it in walls, in crops, in paths, in rooftops. Real life has progress too, but it's invisible, gradual. You don't notice that you've grown until you look back years later. And by then, the individual days have dissolved into a blur. Games give us something precious, the ability to feel progress in real time. To end a session and say, "Look what I did today." Not next year, not someday, today. For those of us who sometimes feel like we're treading water in real life, just getting through the days without much to show for it. That feeling of tangible daily progress can be quietly transformative. It reminds us that small actions add up, that one wall today becomes a village next month. That time, when used with intention, always produces something worth keeping. So here's the question people love to ask. Isn't gaming a waste of time? And here's the answer. It depends on what you mean by waste. If time is only well spent when it's productive, when it earns money, builds a career, checks something off a list, then sure, gaming is a waste. But if time well spent means time that restores you, time that teaches you patience, time that lets your mind wander and your stress dissolve, time that puts you in a state of flow so deep that 3 hours feel like 30 minutes, then gaming isn't a waste of time. It's one of the best uses of it. We don't ask people to justify a walk in the park. We don't demand productivity from a sunset. We accept that some experiences have value simply because they make us feel alive. Games deserve that same grace, especially the slow ones, especially the quiet ones, the ones that don't shout for your attention, but simply invite you to sit down, breathe, and be present in a world that isn't rushing anywhere. Time will keep moving. It always does. Chronos doesn't stop for anyone. But every now and then, in a game, in a garden, in a conversation that makes you forget the clock, you'll find Kairos waiting for you. That deeper time, that better time, the kind that doesn't ask how long you've been here, only whether you've been here fully. So the next time someone asks what you did all evening, and the honest answer is, "I watched my crops grow in a video game," say it with pride. That was time well spent. See you in the next one.